one thing, my mind is on you.
I saw my own ball pads.
Meet with Mr. Pierce, I'll pray about it tonight. See what comes out of my head tomorrow.
You look very efficient. I can't get that attention.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to apologize for getting started a little late. Our hearings ran a little late tonight. That's why we were late coming out of exec. It's not that we were in there pounding walls. It's just we got a late start in there, so I did want to apologize to everybody. We really tried to stay on time. So at this time, we'll go ahead and take roll. We also have two members using teleabsence tonight. One is stuck in an airport in Dayton, and the other one's at a conference in Chicago. So there are 5 of us here tonight.
Flamini?
Here.
Johnson?
Here.
Lopez?
Here.
Moore? Here. Zimmers?
Here.
That's 5 present.
Okay, President's report. I'm going to get on a little soapbox here for a couple minutes tonight. Something that's kind of been gnawing at me for a couple of weeks. And this revolves around inclement weather, when our superintendent, or for that matter, any superintendent, has to make a call on whether we have school or not. Superintendent really isn't a no-win situation. If we don't have school, you have people upset. You have them out there on social media, bashing the superintendent for the decision, because it wasn't told to them early enough, or that we're having school. Then if you do have school, then you have people, they're going to bash again because you're having school and you're putting your kids in danger. So again, it's a no-win situation for a superintendent. I'm kind of taking up for her now, or any superintendent that's in this situation, because you put yourself in this person's shoes. We just came off a 2-week vacation. We really want to have school, but in the same token, we don't want to put kids in danger and in jeopardy. One kid getting frostbite is too many. So I would say parents need to be a little more proactive. We all watch the weather. We all watch the news. You know as well as we do when the forecasters are telling us 2 or 3 days down the road we're going to have some bad weather. Now, they're not always 100% correct, but most of the, scientifically, they get pretty close anymore. So I'd say be a little proactive. Don't wait until 11 o'clock that night to make your arrangements. And I can tell you right now, they're predicting snow Sunday. So if I were you, I would start now, making some temporary arrangements just in case. We hope we don't have to call school, but you don't know. And then on top of it, all the social media kind of got sensationalized by other media in town, which did not help the situation. So I just have to get this off my chest. So board slids. Start this one.
Okay. Well, I would like to salute Charmin During from the Sangamon County Community Resources, and also Rhonda Cook from Title I, parent educator here at the district, for putting together an excellent program of poverty simulation. It was last week Friday at Wanlis, and it was an awesome experience, and I want to salute them and thank them.
I have none.
I have one for the superintendent.
Okay.
Many years ago, I was acting and I had a snow day. And one of the big muckety mucks down here had a 4-wheeler and went out and drove all over town, called me at home, says, yeah, we can't have school today, it's too high, blah, 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 blah. And about 10 o'clock in the morning after we'd called school off, here comes the sun.
Oh.
And it just started, that's a hard job.
The most important time to look at is between 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock, what's going to happen. And you can't really worry about the rest of the day, because between 7 and 9 are when students are transported to school.
Ms. Johnson.
Okay. As we all know, this has been Martin Luther King weekend. And on Sunday, I attended the Ministerial Alliance of Springfield and Vicinity's annual Martin Luther King Day service. And that is where they have students from around the area write a story based on a theme. And this year they had 121 submissions, which I think is good. And the topic was, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving. That is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. And so when it came down to, they got down to their finalists, they had 3 from 5th grade, I think it was, 3 from middle school, and 3 from high school. And they passed out the essays afterwards of the winners. The 5th grade winner was Miracle Drake Smith. She's a student at Pleasant Plains Middle School. Then Shyla Liddell, a 7th grade student at Washington Middle School. Washington Middle School, okay? And Zakia Hill is a 10th grade student at Springfield High School. So, and these students were all awarded a small amount of money, but they were fantastic. They read part of their essays, and it was a really great event. Really great event. Dr. McNeese, who coordinates our P4 program, he was the guest speaker, and he did a wonderful job in his speech also. So, and his main word was Ubuntu, and that means human kindness, a belief in universal bonds. So we all have something to learn. If you want to see any of this stuff that I wrote some notes on, it was a great experience. I think the media table might want to get a hold of some of our students and to see what they think about it as we come into this time where we officially recognize Black History Month. This will be some topics for you to cover. Okay. Then on yesterday morning was the Dr. Martin Luther King breakfast at the Hilton, and well, I totally blanked on the speaker's name, but he was wonderful too. So I think somebody probably has a copy of that speech. There were students from, I know, Athene Withrow from Washington, from all over the district there, but Athene Withrow made a supreme effort to take about 4 or 5 of their students, and they are going to get a copy of the tape of the speech, and then they're going to have do write-ups about it and discuss it. So our kids continue to have learning opportunities even outside the classroom, and I think that's a wonderful thing to say about our community. So as we move forward, and actually I'm going to do a little commercial, and I don't really know how I'm going to handle it, but on next Tuesday, the 29th at 6 o'clock at the Abraham Lincoln Museum, I am going to be on a panel. I can't even tell you the real name of it, but it's about community policing. So if you'd like to come, please do.
I was saying, I didn't mean to skip you. Do you have any salutes, or do you want to?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right. I visited several places in the last couple of weeks. I did a visit to McLaren Elementary and Jane Addams. The thing I'm noticing, and I kind of wrote this on my Facebook page, when I'm walking into buildings, I'm seeing the same thing in every building. I'm walking into these buildings, I'm seeing calm, I'm seeing people that are welcoming as you walk in. I'm walking into classrooms, I'm seeing some great teaching going on, students engaged in the learning, students talking to each other, and I'm seeing this in building after building after building after building. I don't care if it's an elementary school, if it's a middle school, it's a high school. I keep saying the same thing. And you guys have heard me talking about this ad nauseum, but I would like for the community to make appointments to go see what I see. They're not putting on a show for me necessarily, because sometimes they don't know I'm coming. Sometimes I just show up. Most times I make appointments, but not always. So, you know, I've known a lot of these people a lot of years, and I know the work they're doing. They're not putting on a show for me. I know this is something they're doing on a daily basis. So please, in the community, go visit these schools. Also had the opportunity to visit Betsy Dye's Avid class last week. at Southeast High School. And it was kind of interesting because she had a group, I met with a group of seniors, they were in class, and she also had a group of freshmen. And it was, in fact, Ms. Baker's son was in one of the classes, and it was especially the seniors. It was very interesting to sit there and listen to them and what their concerns are and their aspirations. And most of these kids, part of the reason for this program, Avid, is to take those students who have the potential to go to college, maybe have not been that motivated so far, or maybe parents have not been aware of how to get their kids there, and it gives kids an avenue to be able to go to college. And all these kids, all these seniors, I think there are probably 20 of them sitting around this room, they're all going to college somewhere or military. So I think, hats off to these Avid programs all across the district. We have them in all the middle schools, all the high schools. Also visited Springfield High's preview night for incoming freshmen. Mrs. Gill can tell you this because her daughter's going to go to Springfield High next year. The place was packed. I mean, they had them in the balcony. They had so many people there, and the principal said this is probably one of the largest crowds they've ever had for preview night. And they got a lot of good information that night, so I think it was probably very useful to parents. And lastly, then I'll be quiet, I went to Ball Charter's open house that they had for prospective people that have applied to be in the lottery, and they had a very good crowd there that night. They filled the cafeteria, so just another example of a lot of good things going on in this district, a lot of activities going on day and night. And I do want to mention something that somebody passed me, and I'll let Mrs. Baker expound on it if I mess this up. On February the 21st is the annual Disability to Possibilities Conference at Southeast High School, and I'm not sure on the times. Can you tell us the time of the conference?
18.
I think Reggie's gonna turn it on. In your,
You're just-
Well, I believe registration starts at 8 o'clock and the keynote will be at 8:30.
If you've never
That's what I
been to
had
one
done.
of these, how many years have you done this now? This
This will
group?
be our 7th year.
7th year.
And this is a half day, and it's really started with grassroots from our parents, the students with disabilities, and they are still involved, and we think we're going to have a wonderful event that day. Lots of learning for everyone.
If you've never been to it, check it out because it's a good morning. It's a good program. So we just wanted to mention, thanks for reminding me of that. Okay, now we'll move on to discussion items. 4.1, old business. Does anyone have any old business they'd like to discuss? Hearing none, we'll move on to 4.2, new business. Any members have any new business they'd like to discuss? Okay, 4.3, student business.
So tomorrow is our next student roundtable meeting, and at that meeting, we'll be talking about possibly accomplishing some of the smaller goals that we had set earlier in the semester. And they're not like really big things that we have, like those are going to be more long-term, but they're things like going to go talk to middle school students or trying out like a student survey to see if that's like the best way to collect feedback. And then we'll also be talking about like city tournament and the t-shirts that we have to, it's sort of like a district t-shirt showing unity between the 3 schools and how we can like distribute those at the city tournament.
I also know, and I don't know if anybody's contacted you or not because I gave them your name, this community bullying group is wanting to talk to a representative group of students from the high schools. And I mentioned that they might want to get in contact with you because you're a part, you're not only the board representative, but you're also in this group of students. So you may be getting contacted, and if you do, that's what it's about.
I think I already have, is it at the Boys and Girls Club?
Yes.
One of my classmates told me about it.
Yes, okay, good. Okay, this evening we have no presentations to the board. Next would be business reports 6.1.
Mr. Basco?
President Zimmers, members of the board, the district ended the month of December with a cash balance of $28.8 million in the bank for all funds. Interest rates for the month averaged .016, with earned interest being $5,181. Interest earnings year-to-date now total $28.9 million. Schedule of investments is also attached. A total of $15.4 million is currently invested. we've yet to have any activity on our line of credit.
Anyone have any questions of Mr. Masco? Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to superintendent's report.
Okay. I would like to also do some shout outs and some recognitions. We'd like to first recognize a donation that we received from the Allegra C. Ford Thomas Foundation. We have $5,000 awarded to us for our district to really work with our parent mentoring program, so we're very appreciative of that. Also, this time of year, our AT&T Telephone Pioneers Christmas Shoe Program is greatly appreciated and we look forward to this donation every year because we always have students who are in need of shoes and in need of supplies at this time of year. We'd also like to thank the Shoe Carnival who partners with them in giving out over 200 pairs of shoes to our district students. I know there was a little media coverage on that too when they received them, but it's been since the last board meeting and we wanted to make sure that we definitely gave a shout out to that. Also had a unique donation come out of the blue, so to speak, from a band, a local band in town here called Off the Wall Band. I had never heard of them before, but instead of having a cover fee for their event, patrons that attended the concert in December just had to bring in hats, gloves, scarves, and coats, and they donated over 1,000 pieces of hat, gloves, scarves, and coats to our district to give out to our students. Clearly just something that they were doing out of the goodness of their heart, and I really appreciate that. And it was a great surprise when they called us and said they had a large donation to give. So we then distributed that to schools who had that need. So once again, they called it their Keep 'em Warm campaign in the community, and so a shout out to the band called Off the Wall Band. So I've never heard of them, but I'm a fan now just because of their great work in the community. Something that had been requested by a board member and always a great conversation this time of year, and we definitely have Darla Haley in the crowd with us and also Larry McVeigh from our Title I services. And they both diligently serve our homeless families alongside our administrators and our social workers and our parent educators out in the building to really meet the needs of the students who are designated as homeless. Once again, the Springfield Public School right now, we are transporting 190 different students that have been designated homeless that were originally in a home school. Once they have the designation of homeless, then we do provide transportation back to that home school so that they can conceive consistent schooling, stay in the same classroom of teachers, and not be in that cycle of having to move from school to school to school, as their parents work to find permanent housing with local agencies. So that's one piece of the number. The board has been also provided in your packets this evening the numbers for each of our schools. All provisions provided in compliance with the McKinney-Vento Act across our district. So there is a law that really gives our homeless students some benefits in our community. Some of the things and services that we provide to our students who have been designated as homeless. At the elementary, middle, and high school, all of these services are very similar, and they just become more rigorous as we move through with the different levels of needs that our students might have because of their designation. But these are inclusive of making sure that we're keeping touch with those families on a regular basis. If we see them not come to school for a day or two, we are definitely making contacts. If we're not reaching out to Ms. Haley in the Title I office and the homeless office, we're working with our social worker and any interventionist that we have to make sure that our students are in school. We're making sure that we communicate this with our classroom teaching staff so that they understand the struggles that these students may be going through, understand why, if they are absent for a day, how we need to make them up or provide time for them to do some of the homework and meet the needs that they may have. If they are living in a shelter, these may be very stressful times for the students, and they may have rules and lights out things that are happening in the shelters that really impede students having a lot of space and time to do homework, and we may need to provide those services at the school level. We make sure that we're providing them with their basic needs. If we have clothing drives like the one I just mentioned, or they need school supplies, we don't waste a minute in making sure that we meet their needs to help our students that are in the homeless category. We are obviously providing transportation to them immediately the day that they enroll. If they state that they're homeless, or if we determine that they're homeless, we can no longer put up any barriers to them attending school. Even if they haven't had their immunizations, we have to make concessions so that they can be in school as per this act, so that we can meet their needs. And then also making sure that we continually to support the parents in getting the right services that they need out in our community. And that's what our homeless liaison office and Title I office work tirelessly to do. And this continues all the way through high school. In middle school, if they are in a school with a uniform, we will provide a uniform immediately and provide them opportunities to have several uniform t-shirts and pants so that they can meet that need immediately. Once again, making sure that they have support to attend and also be a part of any type of social, academic, dance event or being a part of athletics. We do make sure we put those things in place to serve our students of homeless programs. Also in high school, sometimes this also means identifying unaccompanied youth and connecting them personally with community services, not just their parents, but helping the students themselves that may be facing their needs, as well as cap and gown support, and even deepening level of parent support at the high school if the students are trying to find jobs or work in our community as well. So these are some of the activities that we're doing to deal with some of the numbers that we are facing. In addition, we're partnering with the Matthew Project, and we've had presentations in the past on that. Ann Libri is the founder of that program. We have 12 students who are receiving mentoring on Thursdays from Laketown Elementary specifically. Students attend after school. They actually go off-site to the Matthew Project. And what is the street that's located on? It's right there by Lincoln's home. It's 7th Street. Okay, and they have a program then with the school where they're connecting from the program into the school weekly, making sure that they're getting academic and attendance updates and behavioral data as well. And then they also have parents attend the events at the Matthew Project. So we're really working and kind of targeting 10 students within one school to make a difference in their lives. And then we have the Compass after school tutoring. We're serving over 200 at-risk, low-income students that also may be designated as homeless in that at 8 different sites. And those are housed at Blackhawk, Du Bois, Graham, Harvard Park, Hazel Dell, Matheny Withrow, McClernand, and also Washington Middle School. And that's an after-school tutoring program as well. And so they're receiving extra intervention supports after the end of the school day. And once again, just the work that we're getting in the community. We've had this year between $3,500 and $5,000 of donation from private donors to help support our services in the community, and also dealing with our students here in the district. So we're very thankful for the services that our Title I and our homeless liaisons serve. But this is the time of year where we do find parents that are having to face issues with their housing. So once again, if any family is really facing having to double up housing with somebody else or facing possible eviction, we really want you to reach out to your school or reach out to Ms. Haley at the Homeless Liaison Office. And make sure that you can contact us here at 1900 and we can put you in the right place so that we can serve you and your families. Once again, the total students that we have in our district right now that are designated as homeless is 428 students. So this number is a reality in our district. Our schools are aware and are making sure that they have student, services in place for these students. And once again, 190 of those have actually moved out of their homeschool area and are receiving transportation back to their homeschool site. So does anybody have any questions regarding our homeless report?
I just have a shout out. I want to really thank Mrs. Haley. You are the face, you are the voice for these families. When we were working on the committee for immunizations and physicals, you were a big part of that because you had to keep making us aware. We got all these families sitting out there. Don't forget about them. We got to make accommodations for them. So thank you for what you do on a daily basis. You are their voice. So thank you.
Since I'm the one that asked for the report, and I did it out of concern when it was so cold. I wanted to know what's happening with our homeless population. And so I would ask Mrs. Haley, what kind of extra precautions do you implement, or services do you refer to when the weather is like it is and we have?
Well, at that point, Ms. Johnson, I just have to really anticipate what we already have in place, and by that I mean I'm in constant communication with our shelters. I'm talking with them almost on a weekly basis to see,
Can you maybe come up here so people can hear what you're saying?
Or is that microphone working there?
Yes,
or-
it's on.
Yeah,
It's dead.
it's not.
What about one of those right there in front of Joe?
Yeah, you can, just come on up here. I think, Ms. Sherman, can you maybe set that microphone up for her?
Is this better?
Yes.
Thank you.
As I was saying, Ms. Johnson, during this time of year, as Superintendent Gill has said, it is extremely difficult to meet the need of those that are experiencing a crisis in housing. But I have to continue to do community outreach. We have a wonderful community of basically agencies, relatives, friends that will open their doors to families in homeless situations. I am in constant communication with shelters to see what room they have available. I'm talking with churches and other local groups to see if it's possible to put families up for a night, 2-3 night stay in a hotel. I'm talking with relatives even to see, what can possibly be done to prevent a family from living on the street. So there are a variety of avenues. Sometimes we're not as successful, or I'm not as successful as I would like to be in getting housing for families. But there again, that's when I really rely on our community. I try to make the appropriate referrals, try to reach out to those that I know can help with housing issues, because oftentimes our district, we may not be able to do all that we would like as far as housing is concerned, but I just try to make the appropriate calls or lead families in the right direction so that they know where to get help, especially, like you said, during this time of year.
Okay, so you're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
So where is your office specifically located, so that?
My office is in the Business Service Center,
Okay.
530 West Reynolds.
So that I would recommend that parents go through their school, but if they can't go through the school, if they can contact you at the Business Service Center, then they know that they can, that you will assist them.
Absolutely,
in
and the
every way
schools
possible.
know. The
Yes.
schools know where I am, of
Yes.
course, and this is, I just can't reiterate enough, this is a united effort. When I say this is my work, because all the schools, I would like to thank every staff member, everyone that I work with within 186. If they're aware of students experiencing crisis in their housing, they're there to do what they can to make sure the students are successful, to reach out to families. Like I said, our organizations, Matthew Project, other organizations that have stepped in, agencies, and said, we want to do all that we can to make our community aware, to make families aware. So schools are calling me. We're identifying every day, unfortunately, but we are coming in contact with those that need help, and we're making sure that families know where to go to get that.
Okay, I
Well,
think that's
know a lot
fantastic.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Know who you are, you know the good job that you do.
Thank you.
Getting your name out and in the community more. Do you have business cards that the district prints up for you?
I do, Mr. Flamini. I have business cards, and also there should be posters. I'm hoping that there are posters in
Every
public, yes, in public places,
We ought to
our
get you a
library,
bunch of
certain.
cards. As you go around town, start.
I don't know.
So, because,
Yeah.
this issue comes up all over the place,
Unfortunately, yes.
but you're doing a wonderful job.
Okay, thank
I
you.
also appreciate how you've educated the schools on what students that are in these types of situations might be facing, because living in a shelter or having temporary housing or living in a hotel is very different than going home and having the things that many people consider a routine of an evening are altered and
Absolutely.
changed when you're living in a group housing type setting. So you've been so good at teaching the schools about that and helping us understand how we might have to support students differently during the school day as teachers and administrators as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mrs. Gill, can you help me understand something a little bit better? I had asked a question about an item that was in our bills payable this month, and it was an expense for transportation. And you explained that it's a student who started school in Springfield,
Right.
but now he lives in another local community. But we provide, so he's continuing to come to Springfield even though he lives in another community?
The McKinney-Vento Act actually says where you start school, you can finish school, even if it's outside our boundaries. So this student actually started and is attending a local school district right outside our boundaries now. However, it's now a dual agreement between the new district and our district. We provide transportation one direction, they pay for transportation the other direction. And so basically, we're providing the transportation back and forth, and they're giving us money for it. And so that's why you, or is it vice versa? That's why you, that's why you saw the bill in there. But the McKinney-Vento Act is a very powerful law with many specific things that we have to follow in relation to that.
But they couldn't find anything local, something closer within the district?
It may possibly have been that there's a family member who accepted them into their homes, and that was the very best situation for them at the time. There's always a extenuating circumstance, but there is in this case.
Any other questions for Mrs. Haley? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, I would hope by us having this discussion tonight that my favorite table over there will help us in any way we need in this situation with the dealing with our homeless. Because everybody needs a service every once in a while, you know? Positive stories.
And they're all smiling.
Yeah, I can see. You know me though, Adam.
I know.
Okay.
Superintendent Gill?
That's kind of the end of my report, but I also have the next, the next 7.2. So, Mrs. Hammers, if you can put up each year in the month of October, our students in Springfield, 5th grade through 12th grade, take an assessment called the Gallup Poll Survey, and it is done online. It is something that we've worked in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce and the Q5 initiative, helped pay for a consultant and get this up and going to kind of help the district get an idea. When you look at schools and you look at improving students' lives and student data, it's not always about a test score and about an academic concern. Sometimes we want to do kind of a 360 look at students and how they're performing at school and how they're feeling about school and how they're also feeling about their lives in general. So we call this more of the affective data, the ones that, really kind of get into the heart and soul of the students with which we serve. So this data has 3 metrics. It's got a data piece for hope, and that refers to the ideas and energy we have for the future, drives effort, academic achievement. It also might look at the amount of credits that students earn. Oh, you flipped ahead. Yeah, go to that one, real quick. The amount of students that, effort that they might receive, and then also engagement, which is the involvement in and enthusiasm for school, and how students are known and how often they get to do the things that they really think engage them in the school day. And then the final metric is well-being, which is really how we think about the experiences in our lives as a whole, not only at school but also at home, and how they really feel they're doing that, towards their future, the steps that they may take. And please jump in. Did you take this poll this year?
Yeah, I actually
You did?
I think
Great.
they offered it to everyone, even the seniors, because I know the year before, a lot of seniors didn't get to take it because they thought it wasn't as helpful because we were leaving.
Yeah.
But this year, I think it got it to everyone.
Well, great. And so jump in anytime if we come up with one of these sections. But, what we wanted to bring up with this data today is kind of where we were as a district with our metrics, and then also just kind of understand how our schools are utilizing this data at their school level, because we get it as a district, and then the schools also get an overview data of how their students are doing. So 52% have a sense of this hope and energy that's driving their future in a positive sense. And then also with engagement, it was 52%, and then well-being was 65%. At first glance, this worried me a bit about our district, so I wanted to do a little comparison of how students are doing across the United States. And what we found were that we are in keeping with the scores across the United States as well for all students who take this score. But really what we need to do in order to use this data appropriately is look at the type of questions that were asked and then think about how we can make a difference in our students' lives with this data. So if we go on to the next slide, if we look at hope, once again, this is the ideas and energy we have for our future, and we know that if you've got a really good vision for where you're going, that's going to help your academic achievement, help you, earn those credits that you need to make those next steps in life, and then retain you in school and make sure that you're actively engaged. We had 7,121 students take the survey this year, so 52% were for hopeful, 33% are calling themselves stuck. They just kind of feel stuck. They're not quite sure which way to go or have some questions about their futures. And then 15 are discouraged about their hope for their future. And that was a metric that we really want to hone in on and think about how we can help our students at the schools. Once again, I just wanted to announce almost 800 students more took the test this year than last year. So when we're comparing numbers from last year to this year, we've got a different kind of end number that took the test. So if you go on to the next slide where it says, what are the hope questions? These are some of the questions, and I'll read them because I know it may be a little faint on the slide. I know I will graduate from school. Out of 5 questions, our grand mean was 4.72. In the past, it had been 4.73, so we're kind of in keeping with where we had been. We know that discourages us. We want to make sure that people know they're going to graduate from high school. But if they're a freshman, that might be a hard answer to say, yes, I know I'm going to graduate, because I'm still kind of new in this cycle. So you have to think about where they are in their lives of high school, and the things that they might be worried about or not have hope for right now may change as they get engaged in their high school and know the credits that they need to take and feel a little bit more kind of in tune with what's going on. Another couple questions. There's an adult in my life who cares about my future. I think I can think of many ways to get good grades. I energetically pursue my goals. So that's a personal question about how they pursue their goals. I can find lots of ways around any problem that has to do with their own personal ability to really attack problems and the things that they might have been taught throughout their schooling or in their home about really how to approach a problem that they're facing. And that I know I will find a good job after I graduate. These are positive statements. We want students to be able to say, yes, I feel confident that I'm going to graduate. I feel confident that I can solve problems that come my way. I can feel confident that I'm going to be able to get a good job and pursue my goals as I move forward. Not all of these things we can really predict for an individual student, but we want them to have that vision in their minds. So what kind of programs, what kind of things can we put in place in our individual schools that will help students feel more confident in answering yes about those questions? The engagement question, the involvement in and enthusiasm for school, we know that that's going to reflect on how often they do their best, if they feel like they're engaged in their school process. So engagement is mostly about school. Some of the things with hope and well-being are a lot about their full lives, but engagement in their learning process is really about the work that we do each and every day. So 52% of our students felt engaged, 27% felt not as engaged as they wanted to be, and then 21% were kind of actively disengaged. And so that was concerning as well, and a number that we want to break down and find out what can we do to really engage students. We know that nationally, the engagement numbers decline as students get older. So I don't know if you're just kind of getting used to getting ready to go on to college or your next step in life, but we know that it kind of does creep up if you look at the numbers, and to where that actively disengaged becomes a little bit higher as they get closer to their next step in life. And we also know that one of our primary work with our teaching and learning department this year is engaging students in their learning, whether it be through technology practices, whether it be through different types of gradual release of responsibility, where we're really turning that work over to the students students and having them be the leaders of that learning in their classroom. There's a lot of different things that we're working on in our Department of Teaching and Learning to make sure that we're able to understand this metric a little bit more and engage our students deeply. To understand a little bit about what the next slide might look like, the engagement mean overall. You can see the types of questions that are up there on the slide. I have a best friend at school. I feel safe in the school. My teachers make me feel my schoolwork is very important. At the school, I have an opportunity to do what I do best every day. In the last 7 days, I've received recognition or praise for good schoolwork. My school is committed to building strengths of each student, and I have at least one teacher who makes me excited about the future. So these are, once again, very personal questions we're asking students, and it's going to be very personal based on the individual experience they have had. But some of these are very important to the overall operation of the school. So if you look at the grand means, there were 3 that stuck out as being extremely high. They were all over 4, so we want to celebrate those. But we also know that there are some areas where we know we can work as a district, and I think you've seen us do some of that work with our school safety and some other things throughout the course of this school year. So we want to make sure that we're really digging into the engagement specifically at each of our individual schools, because these questions might be addressed differently at an elementary or middle or a high school level, and the things that they do to really ask students about engagement. All right. So the next metric is well-being, and once again, that's really how we think about our lives as a whole, how students are doing today, and we know that's going to predict their future. And 65% of our students identified themselves as thriving with their well-being. 33% discussed themselves as struggling, and 2% said that they were suffering. Something was going on in their lives that were causing them to feel that their well-being was that kind of in a suffering moment. So once again, we know that this isn't just school, but a combination of school and home. So the conversations that we had tonight with our homeless population are very important to have, because we know that those are some of the students who may not feel that their well-being is intact if they don't have home and transportation and the basic needs met that they have to feel safe and secure, and also come to school feeling fed and have the right things that they need. So we know that there are a lot of things that students are facing outside their lives that can impact these numbers as well. But we also know during the school day, well-being is also extremely important. And some of the questions for well-being, if you go on to the next slide, were you treated with respect all day yesterday? So they're asking students to reflect on their day yesterday, just one specific day and time. Did you feel like you were treated with respect? And that's home and at school. Did you smile or laugh yesterday? Did you learn something interesting yesterday? Did you have enough energy to get things done yesterday? And that's sort of a basic needs. Did you have that energy and have all your basic needs met so you can have that energy? Do you have health problems that keep you from doing the things that you normally do? And are you in trouble, or do you have family or friends you can count on to help you in time of need? So these are questions that are very deep-seated questions that students are asked to think about. And we had 92% of our students saying that they did have family and friends that they could call upon if they were struggling and having, trouble. So we felt confident that there are people out there to help our students, and they do have a place to go and reach out. So once again, we want to make sure that we're using this data since we have it at our fingertips, and it's very helpful data. Schools have the expectation of analyzing each of their schools' data and coming up with a plan to build on the successes that they see, but also dig into those data points where there might be questions. Think about the questions that the students were asked, look at that data, and start to think about ways that they can develop a plan of action. So each of our schools are celebrating the data, but they're also choosing different pieces of this data to focus deeply on, and they're also identifying exactly who can help students with these different things and having conversations with students about how to get help in the community, how to get help in the school, how to ask questions if you're concerned, what to do if you don't feel safe in any given day, what to do with our bullying policy. It really ties into this well, what to do if you feel like you're being bullied and who you can reach out to. So these are some of the things that have come out of this this deep work. And so every school has a plan from last year that they have an action plan with, and they'll take this year's data and actually take it a next step further. I'd like to thank Ann Morris for helping us administer this year and get all this done and really help with the schools with their action plan. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
I think I want to say one more thing about the well-being question. If you can imagine the way it's presented, the students are shown a ladder graphic, and they have to imagine a ladder with steps numbered from 0 to 10, and the top of the ladder represents their best possible life, and the bottom of the ladder would represent the worst possible life, and that's how that well-being question, they get that thriving that Mrs. Gill, basically talked about a few moments ago. That's directly where that data come from. And so the students they rate how they feel about their current life now and in 5 years. And our data has actually gotten better in that well-being metric over the past 3 years. So it's really exciting to see that our students, I think our work that we're doing around our culture for learning is really paying off.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone have any questions about the report?
No, but going back to the well-being, just a precautionary, as a person who did expulsions. We have to be sure that the young people, and this is 800 out of 15,000, right? How many people
Oh,
did
it was
it?
7,000, over 7,000 students took the
Okay.
survey.
Well,
Increase of 800 this year.
having encountered a few students through expulsion process who say that they are not comfortable approaching an adult when they have a bullying problem or whatever, we need to see if maybe we can't tweak that just a bit so that we can bring a little bit more of those, bring those people out a little bit more. Their hesitancy to speak to an adult is what is kind of pushing the expulsion level right now. So that comfort, and it not only comes from the students, but how it is exhibited through the teachers in the confidence levels, okay? And it's just, it stands out. And we really, really want to have somebody in each building. I think if we do, as we've had the conversations about utilizing the social workers to a greater degree, maybe as administration brings those people into the fold, then I think that might possibly help. Some behaviors in some kids that just need somebody to talk to. And there's a few that I think their behaviors wouldn't be so bad if they could just go and say, hey, somebody's picking on me. Can you really, really help me? And I have people ask me all the time, well, don't you have a bullying policy in the district? Yes, we do. But if the children are not expressing to an adult that they're being bullied, then I know there's no way that you can help them.
Was there anything else, Rosalie?
I have a question. I know at my school, since I'm a part of the Be a Senator team, and I went to a student council meeting with one of our other representatives, that we saw the data for our school specifically, and we also talked about how else to share it with other students. But are the other schools, like at least the middle schools and the high schools, because I know this would be kind of hard for an elementary student to understand, is that data being shared with the students as well, or at least a small group of the students?
I can't answer that directly. And do you know if they've had any, if they're sharing this data with the students as well? At any of the...
That's a good question. I really don't know. I know we're putting it out on the website, and I do know that in the past, definitely some of the principals have had focus groups with their students, especially when there were some questions about, some of the data that came back last year. I do know that at Jefferson and at Southeast, and I believe at Lancaster too, that there were some focus groups around the reports that came back. So I don't know if it was shared, school-wide, maybe the way I think you're asking the question. But that's a very good idea.
Right. Right. And actually, at the elementary schools, it's only the fifth grade who take it, and I think they could take the data into consideration and understand that quite well. So I think it's a good idea for elementary as well as middle and high school.
Because it's, I think if we're going to improve the data, we really need to have like a student input on it because we're the ones that all this is happening
Right.
to.
Right.
So I know when I went to the student council meeting, our principal, Mr. Grossen, was there. So he'd ask us like different questions about the data and maybe what might be causing it.
Mhm.
So I think it'd be better to have that input than rather just like administration.
Right. And then once we get that data, being able to put it into actionable steps like you were talking about, Mrs. Johnson, would be very helpful. Yeah. With the social workers actually meeting with those students and working
Yeah,
with
because
them.
I was under the impression that you did meet with the students, so.
Well, they
I'm
do
glad you
meet
asked
with
that
the
question.
students. Oh, you mean to talk
Yeah.
about the students? Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
Sure.
a question. I know that the district's been working a lot on the bullying policy and putting into place, but looking at our district website, it's not easily, it's not on our main page where your parents can go and know, okay, what's the definition of bullying? Is this bullying? And at a recent meeting with the Faith Coalition, we did talk about this, and I know that there's a plan to have it more accessible, but when will that be put in place?
Actually, I think, Mr. Sanders, you brought that to our attention last week, and they're working on getting that. We've got to build a little portal for it.
Okay.
And within a
Shortly.
reasonable amount of time.
Okay,
Yes,
all
very
right, yeah,
reasonable.
'cause I think that would be really helpful,
Right.
informing people.
That's it.
All right, moving on to 8.1 through 8.5. I want to turn over to Mrs. Gill for consent action items.
President Zimmers, members of the board, I recommend approval of the consent action items 8.2 through 8.5 as described in the corresponding resolutions.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lopez,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
Flamini.
Aye.
That is 5 aye votes. The motion carries.
Okay, on to roll call action items, 9.1.
Okay. Mrs. Sherman?
President Zimmers and members of the board, the superintendent recommends adoption of the personnel recommendations with one change. Page 1, letter A, classified resignations. Item 1, change in resignation date to the end of the day, January 30th, 2015.
Okay, motion?
I move.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Lopez,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
Flamini.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
That is 5 aye votes.
Okay, 9.2.
Okay, Mr. Basco?
President Zimmers, members of the board, superintendent recommends approval of the following resolution. Now therefore be resolved to accept the school district's tentative amended budget for FY15. Be it further resolved that this tentative amended budget will be made available for public inspection in the school district's offices located at 1900 West Monroe Street, Springfield, Illinois, for a period of not less than 30 days, beginning the 30th day of January 2015. Be it further resolved, the Secretary of the Board is directed to cause proper and legal notice of the availability of the tentative amended budget for inspection to be published, and be it further resolved that the public hearing on the tentative amended budget be established for 6:30 p.m. on March 3rd, 2015, and be it further resolved that at any time during this period of examination, the tentative amended budget that is on file might be further revised or amended.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Moore,
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
Flamini.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
That is 5 aye votes.
Okay, 9.3.
Mr. Shaver?
Thank you. President Zimmers, members of the board, superintendent recommends adoption of the following resolution. Be resolved that the Board of Education of the Springfield School District 186 hereby accepts and approves the amended certified estimate from the architect in the amount listed below that is necessary for building repairs for the school listed below, and that is for Fairview Elementary School, that's roof replacement in the amount of $606,720.
Motion?
So moved.
Second, Mr. Flamini. Any discussion?
Yes, when was the last time Fairview had a roof?
1981.
So
Before I was
this
in
has
high
been a
school.
long-range plan. It's not that they've suddenly had damage. It's just been on the spectrum of.
One would think
We've been
after
nursing
that
along,
long.
And with the project that happened last summer, more people were up on it, so we determined that it really needed to be replaced.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Zimmers.
Aye.
Flamini.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
That is 5 ayes votes.
Okay, and 9.4, student discipline.
President Simmers and members of the board, it is my recommendation that 2 ninth grade students be hereby expelled from further attendance at Springfield High School through the end of the 2015-16 school year with a program, and that 3 10th grade students be hereby expelled from further attendance at Springfield High School through the end of the 2015-16 school year without a program.
Okay, motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Flamini.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
That is 5 aye votes.
Okay, before we end the meeting, Mrs. Gill would like to.
Well, just want to make sure everybody knows that we have the boys basketball city tournament that's happening this weekend, Thursday through Sunday, or Saturday down at the Prairie Capital Convention Center. Also on Sunday, though, we are going to be packing up all of our canned foods and donations from our Spirit of Giving Award that will also go through. So I think at 8 o'clock on Sunday morning, we'll be down there getting those ready to give out to some local charities because not only are we focusing on the basketball this year, but also the spirit behind the students and their attendance at the games, and really bringing forth some great sportsmanship from all 4 high schools in town, but also the spirit of giving, where we're coming together and really trying to make a difference in our community through our time together while we're playing basketball. So each of our elementary schools, and when I say each, I'm talking even parochial elementary schools that feed into Sacred Heart Griffin, as well as all the elementary schools and middle schools that feed into our high schools, are doing canned food drives and collecting money, and we're going to bring that together to really give something back to our community. Once again, it's a great time of year to do that when it's cold and families are having trouble getting out and doing the shopping and things like this. This will really give back. So, Rosaline, do you have anything else? I know we're going to be giving out some T-shirts during the tournament too to our students and fans.
I can't wait to see him tomorrow.
I know, we've got the design, it's got all 4 city high schools on there, and really, the idea of this is coming together in unity to not only have a good time and be a part of something great in our community, but also, coming together to give back to the community as well. And then the following week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, is our City Girls Tournament as well. So we look forward to having as many fans in our community come out to cheer on our high school teams that participate in the 3A basketball. So we're not cutting anybody out, but it is about 3A basketball right here in our community. So that's Sacred Heart Griffin, Springfield High, Lamphere, and Southeast High School. So we're looking forward to it.
Okay, so
All right.
question about the T-shirts. Are
Yeah.
they for sale, or are you just
No, they're
tossing them in the
right.
crowd,
We're just
or
going to
what?
give them out for free. So we've got a whole bunch of them. We're going to be tossing them into the crowd for free. No, we're not going to be selling them this year. If it goes over well and people like the idea, we might be able to have them for sale after the tournament. If somebody wants to get one, we are having those printed by our local Ink 186. So they were we couldn't get too many of them printed up front. But if everybody likes them and we want to take orders, we can definitely do that after the tournament is over. But we're going to be giving out a lot for free during each game.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I think you should put it up on the website, maybe.
Oh, we have
I'll buy a couple.
for the T-shirts, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, we have the games are up on the website, so if anybody wants to know the schedule is right on our main kind of banner on our website, so you know when the games are and who's playing which night at which time. So we look forward to seeing everybody out there, and not only that, but our school bands are playing, and our POMs are performing, and our cheerleaders, so we're really looking forward to a great event. Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything else? I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. Our next regular scheduled meeting will be February the 2nd. Again, thanks everyone for coming.
I got you one. I got one.